Welcome back. Time for our Talk of the Table segment, our first of 2013. We begin in Pennsylvania, where Governor Tom Corbett is suing the NCAA in federal court over sanctions imposed against Penn State in the wake of the Jerry Sandusky child sex abuse scandal. The sanctions were agreed to by the university in July. They included a $60 million fine that would be used nationally to finance child abuse prevention programs. State and federal lawmakers have raised objections to spending the money outside Pennsylvania. Corbett's calling the sanctions, quote, overreaching and unlawful. He says they punish past, present, and future students who are innocent. Corbett is a member of the university's board of trustees. Guys, should the governor of Pennsylvania be fighting these sanctions?
Governor Corbett's got a messaging problem here. He needs to decide if he's fighting this because he views it as being an unfair judgment. But if he does that, then it contradicts the fact that he agreed to it in July. Or is he fighting this because what I think is a much more defensible position, he wants to keep that money in the state and not have it go outside to fund these programs in other states. He at least wants to keep that capital in Pennsylvania, which is losing a lot of money because of the absence of Penn State football.
But Penn State agreed to the sanctions, and I mean, does Governor Corbett really want to be revisiting Penn State? It was not the brightest moment of 2012 for the university or for the state of Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's so shocking about this is when the sanctions were initially passed down, uniformly most people said that they were too lenient on the university, that what they had done and what they had allowed was so egregious that this was not enough. And now to hear the governor come out and file this suit, I think is interesting, and I think the political context of that is something that we need to shed light on, because there is no, by no measure is the NCAA being too lenient on, or too harsh, sorry, on the university in this case. This was an egregious violation at the top levels of this university. They do make a lot of money. It's a big university, but this is unheard. This is unbelievable.
The governor wants to be seen as fighting for the state. This is political.
Well,
that makes sense.
And he could do a lot worse by picking the NCAA as a boogeyman. Any lover of college sports, and I put myself into that category, knows that this is a very controversial body that makes some pretty outrageous and I would say wrong-headed decisions. If you saw the movie The Blind Side or you read the book, case in point right there.
But the money's going to for child abuse prevention grants. I mean, how do you get on the right side of that PR coin?
Easily, you're seen as fighting for your state.
Right, exactly.
That's a major issue.
Keeping that money in the Commonwealth.
If this debate was happening in a station inside Pennsylvania, it might be a very different conversation than we're. All right, next up, are you a Twitter addict? Dominic, I'm looking at you. Are you a Twitter addict?
Not by. Why are you looking at me?
You tweet like 3 times a day.
He said he's looking at you.
Do you struggle during movies or plays knowing that you're not able to broadcast your thoughts for 2 hours or so? Maybe you should consider moving to Minnesota, where one theater is not only allowing but encouraging audience members who are in their so-called tweet seats to tweet during shows. Better not be near my seats. The tweet seats are in the balcony so as not to bother those who can live without social media for a few hours. That theater in Minnesota joins other performance venues that allow smartphone use during performances, including the Cincinnati Symphony Orchestra. Folks, that's not how you go to the symphony. Palm Beach Opera and the Public Theater in New York, which I did not know about. Tweet seats or just put it down for a couple hours?
Here's the thing. As preposterous an idea as this sounds, certainly to me, I think there's a reason for that. And the reason is the content owners, either the producers of the play or the producers of the movie, they're hoping that these folks are saying positive stuff about what they're watching and broadcasting it to their friends. So there is clearly a commercial marketing advertising element to it.
So are you saying if we sit in the tweet seats, we're going to get better service? They're going to be nicer to us?
I'm just saying I would be shocked.
Tweet, but
I would be shocked if that weren't a huge part of the calculation.
I got to learn to tweet better.
Related story. A couple of weeks ago, there was a rapper in California who kicked a woman out of his audience because she was tweeting negative things about the show. He had his bodyguards or his flunkies find her and boot her from
the fact that he knew that tells you everything you need to know.
When you see somebody in a theater tweeting next to you or putting on or not, how do you not just like want to grab the thing and throw it against the wall or?
Well, I mean, absolutely, and we see it in the classroom. It's very, very frustrating, and faculty have terrible time trying to figure out, because for most faculty, this is not something that they grew up with, and so now you see, and it's very common for the students. So it's the same, it's the same thing. And so I'm a bad tweeter.
I want to make sure I got this right. You're going to
I'm a terrible tweeter.
Maybe I'm getting old here. You're going to pay your money to attend a movie that you're not watching to sit there and tweet.
Do you know how much students pay to go to college?
When nobody's reading the tweet.
They go pay to go to college and they tweet.
But they don't want to be there.
That's true.
I mean, mommy and daddy says they got to go there.
Very true. Very true.
No offense, Dean. I mean, you know.
In addition to that, we're becoming a society where you have to repeat yourself 2 or 3 times because the first time that somebody's doing this and you're talking to them, they don't hear anything you're saying.
You know what I was amazed with this whole conversation? That you use the word broadcast as far as tweeting. What these folks think they're on television broadcasting?
A lot of them do. A lot of them
think they're on television.
It's their little circle of fame.
Back to the point that I made before about the positive, the hopes of positive press. I mean, there are a lot of regular citizens who are frequent tweeters, who are identified by consumer products and entertainment products that know these people are frequent tweeters and will cater to them and will try to make them happy because they know they're influential in their sphere. I mean, this happens. This is a huge marketing ploy that companies use.
Yeah, but if that's your marketing ploy, like if you're relying too heavily on that means the product you're pushing may not be all.
It's part of your marketing. I'm not saying it's the sum total.
All right, moving on. My story of the day: Israel's new law banning unhealthily thin models has just gone into effect. The new legislation bans models who have a body mass index below 18.5 from appearing in advertisements. I don't know what the 18.5 is, but basically that means that a model who's 5'8" can weigh no less than 119 pounds. The law also requires publications and brands to disclose when they use manipulated images of models, Photoshop, to make them look thinner than they really are. First of all, without thinking about that law here, do we like the sound of that law? Do you like Dominic's applauding?
Love it.
But I think that's just as we have girls up on the screen.
As a father who grew up with a daughter saying, "Daddy, are you calling me fat?" I listen to this all, and I'm like, "Sweetie, I'm not calling you fat." So it's a good.
Call your daughter fat.
I didn't call my daughter
wrong,
fat.
Dom. That's just wrong.
We're going to go to commercial break.
No, it's
father of 2 daughters. This is a huge issue. My wife and I do everything we can to make sure our daughters have positive body images. Do I think the government needs to legislate this in Israel, in Afghanistan, the United States? Absolutely not.
Would you like to see that law here?
Yes, you should.
I have really mixed feelings. I hate to see the government legislate it. On the other hand, it is a huge problem for women and some men. I mean, we shouldn't forget it impacts men as well. Not you. It impacts men as well.
How many times are you going to put yourself in the barrel in the same segment, Dominic?
No, it is a huge issue, though. It's a huge problem for young women, and it's something that needs to be addressed. And it's not only, I have 2 boys, it's not only young women, it's young men as well.
Serious problem.
On that note, the Dominic Show is going to continue during the break. RFL is going to take a quick break. Our still life of the day when we return. Stay with us.